Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I want to talk to you about the latest episode of Star Trek Prodigy. It was called Immoral Star Part 1. And as it starts, the crew is talking amongst themselves about their recent experience with the time fracture from last week, and also about how Dreadnought showed up on the ship. And during this conversation, they Dahl does, accidentally knock over the inactive version of Dreadnought that is still present. And this triggers a video from the Diviner, which I guess was recorded into the memory of the Dreadnought, and which is now being projected from its eye, in which he offers to free all of the miners back on the asteroid if they bring him the protostar. But then he says he will kill the miners if they don't bring him the protostar. So Gwen proposes rescuing the miners with the protostar because they don't want to give it to him if they can avoid it. And the crew mostly agrees that they should attempt this, but Dow doesn't really want to, because he doesn't want to risk Gwen's life, though he tells her that his concern is for the whole crew. And he also tells her it's a no-win scenario. That it's their own.
Kobayashi Maru.
She then convinces him that they need to go for it, and they all unite as a crew, suit up in Starfleet uniform, which was awesome, which causes the Janeway hologram to change her uniform to match, which is also awesome. And they then very epically jump to the mine asteroid, where they are immediately grabbed by a tractor beam, all the while talking about, okay, everybody knows the plan, we're gonna do this plan. So they have a plan. When the ship lands, they confront Diviner, telling him the ship will self-destruct if he tries anything funny. Diviner alters the deal.
I am altering the deal.
Saying that Gwen must accompany him on the protostar in order for him to release the miners and give the crew his Rev 4 ship in exchange for the protostar. In an emotional sequence, the crew objects, but Gwen agrees, saying she needs to make things right after looking the other way for all the time that she did when Diviner kept kidnapping people and forcing them to work in the mine. Then Diviner, Dreadnought, and Gwen board the protostar, at which point Dreadnought overrides Janeway, turning her evil, and Diviner blasts the Rev 4's engines. This, of course, was done over Gwen's strenuous objections, but it took out the gravity and the shields, the loss of the latter of which, anyway, will deprive the crew of oxygen in short order. As the crew struggles in zero gravity after the protostar departs, Diviner begins telling Gwen more about his plans, and he seems to sort of mind meld with her, at which point he realizes she's hiding something from him, which is the fact that the crew smuggled the protostar core off of the ship by allowing Murph to envelop or swallow it. So he smuggled it off the ship. In possession of the protocore, the crew now prepares to execute their plan to save themselves, as well as the miners, and we can imagine retake the protostar. This episode was fantastic. Fantastic, awesome, whatever other accolade you want to throw at it, this episode deserves. It was just great. John Noble is excellent in it. I mean, he's just above reproach in this. He's fantastic. The rest of the crew is great as well, the voice cast. This show is just very, very good. It's a kid's show, but I am not ashamed to tell you that I teared up during this episode, when the crew dons their uniforms and when they talk about why they're doing what they do, what they're going to do, and how it's, all about doing the right thing and upholding the values of Starfleet. And the following sequence where they really throw themselves into their roles as not so much officers on the ship, but people who have jobs to do to make the ship run and to succeed at their mission. It was just an amazing episode. The scene where Gwen is asked to leave with her father and the crew doesn't want her to, they object strenuously. but she very somberly explains, no, I don't really want to go either, but I have to do this. If it's what it takes to save the miners, if it's what it takes to give you guys a ship in place of the protostar so that you can get out of here, then I'll do it, because it will also allow me to sort of atone for the way I've behaved in the past. The whole sequence was very heartfelt, very moving. The cast, again, did a tremendous job. And, you know, these are young people. These are not adult actors for the most part. They're young people. And they might technically be adults, but I'm 52, so to me, they're kids. And they just do a phenomenal job. The writing is phenomenal, the dialogue. The animation is phenomenal. These characters, you forget that you're watching animation. You really do. The emotion that comes out of their facial expressions and their other movement is it's just fantastic. You know, they've made a point of turning this ragtag group of people into a group of friends, into a functioning crew, and they really pulled it together in this episode. The music in this episode, I mean, it's been good all the way through, but I haven't really noticed it. But in this episode, you notice the music. There's a scene or sequence where the protostar goes to warp and then jumps using the protocore, and both the animation and the music and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm reusing that word over and over because I don't have other words to describe how excellent all of it really was. So, you know, I'm looking forward to the next episode, the conclusion of this storyline, I hope, because it's a cliffhanger that we've been left with here. So I'm looking forward to that, but it's just excellent. There isn't really anything else I can say. For a kid's show, the plots are very adult. There are elements of it that are sort of kiddish, where, okay, you're reminded that it's aimed at kids, but they're dealing with themes that are very much adult. And the heart that these characters behave with is very mature and very indicative of adult thinking and adult sensibilities. So, you know, and I'm someone I'm someone that looks at Discovery and goes, it's crap. And it is crap. So you have to take what I'm saying about this show and this episode, knowing that that those are my sentiments on Discovery, because I know crap when I see it. This is not me being some Star Trek fanboy or some, you know, shill or whatever, or somebody who's just so dazzled by anything with the name Star Trek that I'm blinded to it being bad. I have no problem seeing when something called Star Trek is horrible. Discovery fits that bill. This is the complete opposite of Discovery. It's Star Trek through and through. It's everything that Star Trek was always meant to be. Thought-provoking, as I said, moving, as I said, heartfelt. At least in the Next Generation era, Star Trek was meant to be heartfelt. Certainly the movies, the first 6 movies were meant to be heartfelt. And this is right there with them in a real way, not the fake, contrived Discovery way. So if you haven't seen Star Trek Prodigy, you definitely have to check it out. I'll be back with a review of the next episode. Until then, my friends, as always, I wish you peace and long life.